All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the latest set of RBT exam practice questions, where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking each one down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack and other practice exams. As always, when you pass, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. You are a lead behavior technician training another new technician on an extinction procedure. They tell you that they've been implementing the procedure for 2 weeks, but the intensity and frequency of the behavior is only increasing. How can you explain this behavior change? Now, on the surface, looks like a very technical question, but once we break it down, it actually becomes very straightforward. And that's why we always do all of our work up front in the question instead of jumping right to the answer choices. So let's look at this question. You are training another new technician on extinction. They tell you they've been implementing the procedure for 2 weeks, but the intensity and frequency of the behavior is only increasing. So if you've been training on extinction and they've been implementing extinction, and now the intensity and frequency of the behavior is increasing, what is likely occurring? What comes along with extinction where the behavior that's on extinction actually increases at the start? How do you explain that behavior change? A, the technician is likely implementing extinction incorrectly and needs more training. Well, it's likely the opposite. If they're actually seeing this intensity and frequency increase, it's likely they're getting an extinction burst, which is what we want to see if extinction and when extinction is implemented correctly. B, the client is experiencing extinction-induced aggression. Well, it never mentions aggression in the question, so we can't just assume that. We can only go by the information given to us in the question. So C, the client is likely going through an extinction burst, is much more likely based on the information given, and it makes a lot of sense. We've been doing extinction for 2 weeks. The intensity and frequency of the behavior is increasing, is what we expect from extinction, and that is textbook extinction burst. So you can easily explain the behavior change as an extinction burst. And then D, the technician likely reinforced this behavior by accident. Well, there's no indication that the technician reinforced anything. There's no information given that would indicate the technician reinforced anything. The information given says we've been doing extinction. As a result, the behavior increases in intensity and frequency. That is simply called an extinction burst. How can you explain this behavior change? C, the client is likely going through an extinction burst. Giada cut up vegetables to roast in the oven. She set the oven temperature and then put a timer on for 1 hour. The timer went off when she was upstairs, and by the time she got to the oven, the vegetables were burned. What needs to change regarding Giada's behavior relative to the alarm so the vegetables do not burn? All right, we've got a behavior question, and as always, in our behavior questions, first start with whose behavior? Well, we're looking at Giada's relative to the alarm so the vegetables do not burn. So what does Giada have to do once the alarm sounds so the vegetables do not burn? What's the issue here? She's roasting vegetables. She set the oven temperature and timer for 1 hour. Timer went off when she was upstairs. By the time she got to the oven, vegetables were burned. So what was the problem? Well, it took her too long, essentially, to respond to the alarm, right? She needs to be quicker once that alarm goes off, getting to the vegetables. So more or less, if the alarm is the SD, what does she need to reduce in between the SD and the response? A, increase her inter-response time. Well, we're not looking at inter-response time here, right? We're not looking at time in between different behaviors. We're looking at the time from alarm sounds to the time she leaves to go to the vegetables, right? B, increase her duration. Now, if it said decrease duration, well, we might argue we could decrease duration of going to the vegetables, right? If the response is walking downstairs to the vegetables, maybe decreasing that duration would be effective. But the answer choice only says increase duration. And we don't want to increase any durations here because we're already taking too long. So C, decrease her latency, is really the only one that makes sense. Because if our timer is the SD and our response is going to the vegetables. If we can decrease the latency, the time in between the alarm going off and us moving, well, we're going to get to the vegetables quicker, more than likely. And then D, increase her latency. We don't want to increase the latency, right? We want to decrease it between the time the alarm goes off and the time we start moving. So what needs to change regarding her behavior relative to the alarm so the vegetables do not burn is C, decrease her latency. Lisa is riding in her car while listening to the Barbie soundtrack. The song I'm Just Ken comes on and Lisa starts to sing along. When it is over, she replays the song several times. What is the primary function of Lisa's behavior? We have a function question. Functions do what? It tells us why the behavior occurred, what caused the behavior, right? And we have our four functions, four causes, right? To obtain a tangible, to gain attention, to escape, or for automatic sensory reinforcement. So what is Lisa trying to accomplish here? Well, behavior is either gaining something or getting rid of something. What is Lisa getting here? What is she getting rid of? Well, when the song comes on, the song I'm Just Ken comes on, she sings along. What does she do? She replays that song several more times. So why is Lisa replaying the song several more times? A, to obtain a tangible. Is Lisa playing the song to obtain an item, physical item? No, she's not, right? She's just by herself in this car, riding in the car, replaying the song over and over. So is she doing it for attention? Well, there's nobody else mentioned in the question. She's not gaining attention of anybody, so we can't really assume she's doing it for attention. She just seems to really like the song, right? She's singing along. She wants to hear that song over and over and over again. What about C, escape? Again, Lisa's not escaping from anything. It's quite the opposite, really. She's trying to get more of this song, right? So what the function is D, automatic. In other words, she's doing this because of the feeling it creates. Remember, automatic is also referred to as sensory, and automatic is also thought to be alone, right? You don't need somebody else mediating the consequence. So when it is over, she replays the song several times. Nobody else is around. Nobody else is mediating it for her. She's doing it because of the feeling it creates. She's doing it herself. The primary function of Lisa's behavior is D, automatic. Of the following, which is not a critical component of punishment? So we're looking for a not answer. And when you look for a not answer, that means three of the answers are. So in this case, three of the answers are critical components of punishment. We're looking for the one that isn't. So you can either answer by finding the three that are critical components, or you can narrow it down to the one that isn't. So what is a critical component of punishment? Punishment, of course, is a consequence which decreases future behavior. So A, the punishment must occur after the response. Well, absolutely right. Punishment is a consequence. Consequences follow responses. It's critical that punishment comes after the response. B, the punishment must be something the client dislikes. Now, how do we know if something is punishing or not? Well, we look at future behavior. If it decreases future behavior, it's punishment, regardless of how the client feels about it. Same with reinforcement. If reinforcement increases future behavior, it's reinforcement, right? So we're not too worried about how the client feels about it. We're just worried about what does it do to future behavior. B does not look critical. Let's keep going. C, the punishment must be delivered on a continuous schedule. Yes, if we're doing punishment, anytime punishment is necessary, it must be delivered. It's on an FR1 schedule. And then D, the punishment must decrease future behavior to be considered punishment. Absolutely. That's the definition, more or less. Punishment decreases future behavior. If it doesn't decrease future behavior, it's just not considered punishment. So the only one we didn't consider critical, which is not critical, is B. The punishment must be something the client dislikes. Not necessarily true. We're only worried about what does it do to future behavior. We're not too concerned about how the client feels about it when defining it as punishment or not. Does it decrease future behavior? Well, then it's punishment. Janice is reading a sleep training book to prepare for the birth of her first child. The book tells Janice that she should wait at 5 minutes until she comforts her baby if they are crying and should only comfort the baby for 3 minutes at a time, maximum. 5 minutes most likely represents what in this scenario? All right, behavior question. What are we looking at? We're looking at the 5 minutes. And we're looking at what the 5 minutes most likely represents. So you need to give your best answer, right? So even if you don't have complete information, you're giving the best answer you could give based on the information. Now, Janice is going to wait 5 minutes for what? Well, until she comforts the baby if they are crying. So what is that going to do? Well, it's going to do one of two things, or typically both of these things. One, it's going to go comfort the baby. So the baby's crying, she gets comfort. It's going to positively reinforce the baby. What does Janice get out of it? Well, she escapes the baby crying, right? So it's going to likely negatively reinforce Janice. So what does it most likely represent? A, positive punishment for the baby. Well, it's unlikely that the comfort is going to positively punish the baby, right? The whole idea behind this is baby cries, gets comfort. It's very unlikely that her comfort is going to punish the baby. What about B, positive reinforcement for the baby? Yes, Janice's attention, Janice's comfort will likely reinforce the crying, hence the sleep training book. What about C, negative reinforcement for Janice? Yes, as well. Why? What is Janice escaping? Remember, escape is more or less synonymous with negative reinforcement. Janice is escaping crying baby by comfort. So that 5 minutes is actually, right, going to be the schedule, okay, for both positive reinforcement for the baby and negative reinforcement for Janice. So the question is written a little strangely, right? Because really, 5 minutes is more of the reinforcement schedule. But given the answer choices, the two best choices are positive reinforcement for the baby and negative reinforcement for Janice. So even though the question is written strangely, you still got to answer given the best answer. So it's a good lesson and good training on giving the best answer and only answering what the question is asking given the information to you. Blake is a 10-year-old with severe deficits in fine and gross motor skills. His parents want him to start requesting things like food in the bathroom, but he has never spoken any words and barely makes any sounds. What intervention will be best to teach Blake to mand? All right, this is a hard question. Went a little more analytic here. That's fine. So first off, what's a mand? A mand is a request, and you might not necessarily need to know that for your exam, but you're going to be using and hearing mand all the time. So you have to be familiar with it. A mand is a request. You're asking for something. So we want to teach Blake to ask for something. He's got deficits in fine and gross motor skills, and his parents want him to start requesting things, okay? But he doesn't speak words, doesn't make sounds. So he's got a lot of deficits. No fine motor skills, no gross motor skills, doesn't speak, doesn't make sounds. How can we teach him to communicate? A, have Blake request a bathroom by saying bath. Well, he doesn't really speak much and he doesn't make sounds. Saying bath seems like it's going to be extremely difficult, if not very unlikely. B, teach all his needs. Well, Blake has deficits in fine and gross motor skills. That seems like an issue. Seems like he's not going to be able to engage in sign language. C, show Blake how to exchange a picture for access to the bathroom. Sure, right? This seems most plausible. He doesn't make sounds. He doesn't say words. He doesn't have fine and gross motor skills. Exchanging pictures using PECs might be the best way to teach him to functionally communicate. And then D, teach Blake how to type the word food. Well, typing is going to be a skill in itself, much less type the word food when he wants something. So given the information, showing Blake how to exchange a picture for access to the bathroom is going to be the most plausible way to intervene. Now, this is essentially a behavior analyst question, so it's okay if you didn't necessarily get this one, but learn from it, right? Trying to get you to think more analytically about these things. That's how you should be thinking about these questions. So understand, why is exchanging the picture better than all these other skills, which he doesn't even have the prerequisite skills for? Which of the following differential reinforcement procedures does not explicitly teach a replacement behavior? All right, so we have our different differential reinforcement procedures we need to know as technicians. We need to know differential reinforcement of other behaviors, DRO, differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors, DRI, differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors, DRA. And one of these does not teach a replacement. Which one? Does A, incompatible behavior, differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors, teach a replacement? Absolutely. That's the entire idea, right? Replacement behavior is incompatible with the old behavior. What about B, differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors? Again, absolutely. We're teaching an alternate behavior to the old one. C, differential reinforcement of other behaviors. We're not teaching a replacement. That's the key difference. DRO, differential reinforcement of other behaviors, does not teach a replacement. Excellent. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Like, subscribe, let us know when you pass. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.